Good evening. Today is Monday, June 17th, 2024, and the time is 7 p.m. This meeting of the Prosper ISD Board of Trustees is hereby called to order according to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Representing the quorum this evening, we have Mr. Webb, welcome, Mr. Dial, Mr. Cavender, Mr. Linker, Mr. Van Wolf, and myself, Bill Beavers. Mr. Webb, would you please pray for us this evening?
Sure. Let's pray. God, we come to you this evening with humble hearts, full of gratitude for the many blessings you've given to each of us. We ask for your continued wisdom and discernment as we work together to ensure the absolute best educational outcomes for students in this incredible district. We ask that you'd continue to use each one of us and this Prosper ISD community to bring peace and comfort to those who've experienced tremendous loss of loved ones. We thank you for your peace and providence through everything that comes our way in this life. We pray for every student and family in this district that love and peace would be felt in their hearts and in their homes. God, we thank you for this opportunity to serve the Prosper ISD community, and we thank you for your grace. Please be with us this evening and always. And everyone said, amen.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Mr. Van Wolf, you've got the board vision this evening.
Yes, sir. The board's vision is to ensure a safe and supportive educational environment that promotes academic excellence and opportunities, honors traditions, fosters student learning, facilitates effective recruitment and retention of talented educators, and grows all people at all levels.
Thank you, sir. As always, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, which can be found in Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. All of our voting must be in public, but we can privately discuss certain items, including but not limited to matters regarding individual employees, individual students, land acquisitions and real estate, school safety and security, and matters requiring legal advice. However, after that private discussion, any final vote must be in complete view of the public. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, the agenda for tonight's meeting was posted for the public to view at least 72 hours before the meeting. On the screen, you will have some upcoming dates. The district will be closed coming up here this week, and the next board meeting is actually going to be on the 22nd this next month. We have it up there. Okay, Dr. Ferguson, you've got some celebrations for us this evening.
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask Ms. Thompson to please come forward. Mr. Thompson. Thompson served a total of 32 years in education and served 18 years in Prosper ISD. She also served for 6 years on the Prosper ISD School Board of Trustees and also currently serves with Prosper Education Foundation. And this is beginning her 3rd year this month, I believe, with the Education Foundation. She and her husband Lee are residents of Prosper ISD in Prosper, Texas, and we are glad to have Legacy Gardens Elementary, which it has been named for, to be Jana L. Thompson Elementary.
rather humbling. I know we have a lot of celebrations tonight, and I promise not to take much time. I just want all of you in this room and board members that have supported me throughout my career. There are several board members I actually served with that are here tonight, but I really appreciate everything all of you have done for me to support me through the years. And this all started, my whole adventure at Prosper is because of Mr. Rushing. He's a former superintendent here. Many of you know him now as the William Rushing Middle School. And he took a chance on me when I was a very young administrator in another district. And he really did take a chance on me. And that was back when the school board actually assisted in the interviews and the campus site-based team. And all around this room, it is because of them back in 1997 that they all took a chance on me. And here I am now. And I am only here now representing all of you, amazing educators, amazing people that have helped me along my journey, because I would not be standing here if it were not for the people out here. The teachers, the administrators, the teachers that started out, they were parents and they became a teacher, then they became an administrator, all of my friends, school board members in the audience. And I even have someone here from a former district who I have known, who has built me up over the years, over 36 years. I believe we decided the other night. We've known each other 36 years, when she was my PTO president back when I was an assistant principal and very, very young. And so Mr. Rushing is to blame. I just want you to know. And along with, there's a whole row of ladies right over here, Joyce Hall, Brenda George, Lori Vondersar. Talk about building up a person and helping them grow. These are people in my life that did that. And there are so many of my friends and neighbors here that I call family. Lee and I, it's no secret, we've never had children. So having you guys as my family means everything. And Lee and I are very grateful to be part of this town, and I'm not going to stop. Yes, I'm on the PEF board, starting year 3. I love this district. I love these kids, and I love you all. And I know I've made mistakes along the way. We all have made mistakes along, yeah, we have. Just know that I'm being celebrated because of all of you and everything that you have done for me. And that's really all I want to say.
We have Kate Timberton, if you will please come forward, Kate, and Prentice Sanders. I'd also like to invite up Coach Jackie Crisp and Coach Cody Richards if they're with us tonight. Coach Crisp. Outstanding standout athletes from Prosper High School. Mr. Jones would make sure that I say the Prosper High School, right? So Kate was the bronze pole vault medalist at the state level. District 5A 6A pole vault champion, Region 1 6A pole vault champion, and improved her personal record vault by 3 feet this year. So congratulations. Prentice Sanders, who I think can fly. It looks like he's flying. I'm not even sure he's touching the track as he goes. 400-meter dash, 4-year varsity letterman, 4-time all-district track and field team, 3-time district champion, 2-time regional champion, 2-time all-state track and field team, holds 6 school records. How fast do you run the 400, Prentice? And Prentice actually just graduated from Prosper High School, and you will run track at the University of Houston. Blake Anderson and Mateo Mejia would come and join me, please. And Coach Kobe Velez. You know what? Just own this moment. It's yours. Right, it's fine. Very good. So I will read a little bit about Blake, even though he's not with us tonight. He's probably playing tennis, right? Yeah. Maybe. Okay. So Blake Anderson, bronze, received bronze in boys singles, 25-2 record this school year, and third consecutive appearance at the state meet. So Mateo, let's just take a moment, soak it in. Right? Bronze boys singles, 22-7 record this school year, 2 consecutive appearances at the state meet. So congratulations, we're very proud of you, and I'm glad you're working on Congratulations. Make sure you tell Blake you have all the airtime. Miss Roskins, are you here this evening? There she is.
Oh, that's awesome.
So pretty, yes, and we need Larry Roskins up here too. Come on, Larry. Yes, you are. It truly is a team effort. So the Max Haddock Texas Journalism Teacher of the Year is standing to my left. Texas Journalism Teacher of the Year.
That's awesome.
And what I love about Miss Roskins, I love you too, Mr. Roskins, but Miss Roskins, from the moment that the Roskins arrived on the scene in Prosper ISD, it was evident that they were here to make a difference and to change the lives of students and staff members and parents. And over the years, watching Miss Roskins and Mr. Roskins give back to this great community has truly been an honor. Multiple times that I've been in Miss Roskins' room as she's working with kids, and it is truly the model classroom of being a facilitator in that class and really turning that learning over to students. And so it is something pretty special to watch. Now, Miss Roskins is the recipient of the Max Haddock Teacher of the Year Award for Texas Journalism, which is chosen by the University Interscholastic League. Ms. Roskins was chosen for her dedication to helping young journalists extend beyond the curriculum, allowing students to explore the art of storytelling and critical thinking. She's had several students, and I'm sure well before she ever arrived in Prosper, but many of our Prosper ISD students have gone on to work for notable newspaper and journalism outlets. And I would say that that is credit to Ms. Roskins because of the way that she inspires her kids. So I want to say thank you. I want to say congratulations to Mr. Roskins. Congratulations to you as well. Team effort. We have a few Eagle Scouts. We were able to recognize some of our Eagle Scouts in the May board meeting, but we found that we had more, which is awesome. So, Alexander Jones, Jordan Dennis, and Alec Crone. I'm going to read a little bit about the Eagle Scout Award. The Eagle Scout is the highest achievement of rank attainable in the Boy Scouts of America program. Since its inception in 1911, only 4% of Scouts have earned this rank after a lengthy review process. We recognized some of our Eagle Scouts at our last meeting, and we are proud to recognize the 3 of you this evening. So what was your project, Alex?
I did birdhouses for park. Built a park for the landmark park.
Excellent.
I helped build a pathway in the field.
Excellent. And we love seeing these sprinkled throughout our community, and I know many times they end up in Prosper ISD, and we love that as well. So I want to congratulate all 3 of you. These are lifelong skills that you've learned through becoming an Eagle Scout that you will take with you well into the time your granddads one day, and you'll be able to carry those skills forward, teaching your own grandchildren, which is a pretty cool thing. So congratulations to all 3 of you. I think that's it, Mr. Beavers.
All right. We will have a quick intermission. I'm sure everybody wants to talk about zoning, which is one of the things that we will cover this evening. But if you do not want to stay for that, now is a great time to visit and take a moment to head out. Going into, next we will do public comment on consent agenda item, or excuse me, on agenda items. In a moment. Okay.
At least trying.
Okay, we have two speakers coming to speak this evening. Each person will be given 3 minutes. We thank the speakers. I know that they have communicated with the board previous to this evening, which we cannot respond, so thank you for doing so. Any speaker with a specific complaint about a district employee decision or operational issue should present that complaint through the appropriate mechanism, which is the district's formal grievance process. Speakers with a specific complaint will be referred to district's administration for information about the grievance process. Mr. Nordling, you are up first. Nordling, I hope I said that correctly. You are up first this evening, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jay Nordling, we've lived at Windsong Ranch for 2 years. My daughter will be a 9th grader at Prosper High School this coming year, and will be on the Talanet drill team. And my son will be a 6th grader at Rushing Middle School. So I just wanted to, speak in support of the 9th through 12th decision for Richland. I think that's the right way to go. I think Rock Hill and Walnut Grove went really well. So why change things now? People seem generally happy with the way things go there. I know it was hard work, but that builds character, and I think we can all do it together. I want to talk about safety. I saw that on your vision statement. Safety was first, I think, as far as an important thing. I think it's a lot safer to have kids or students hopefully go first to a school that's near them. I think from a transportation standpoint, that's better than driving across town to get to school, especially with the Dallas North Tollway becoming more and more of a construction zone for years and years. And, if you say those 11th and 12th graders need to go to Prosper, they're going to have to be driving across construction zones. So why not have them drive closer or even walk if they live next door to Richland? So I think the safety aspect is very important. I think also 9th through 12th is better for people like my daughter, who is in the position of making the varsity basically drill team in Prosper, and then if she had to go to Richland for 10th grade, then she may be on some sort of JV team or something. And I don't think that's fair to her, the other drill team members, and people who participate in other activities where they may have to kind of go backwards if they were only if you only had 9th and 10th grade at Richland. So I think having varsity opportunities is the way to go from day one. Once again, I know it'll be tough. There'll be travel, maybe be in a different league or something. But I think most of these students are used to traveling for club sports or drill team competitions, what have you. So I think a little bit of travel won't be a big deal if we have to do an outlaw schedule. So anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mrs. Nordling.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christine Nordling. We live in Windsong Ranch, and we definitely support the opening of Richland as 9 through 12. It's the most fiscally responsible thing to do to open a very large building to the most amount of students as possible and not transport students to 2 different sides of town. Hehowever, there is some conversation amongst why Star Trail is not being allocated. Not to mention the safety issue, but from a headcount perspective, it doesn't make sense that, we're crossing the tollway and breaking things up when the allocation of children and students can realistically be put at Richland and still not jeopardize enrollment at Prosper High School. Today, I was speaking with the district, an employee of the district, and I asked the question about Star Trail. And I was told that that would remove opportunities for students at Prosper High School, which then to me tells me that there are opportunities that Prosper High School has that Richland may not have. So my question is, what are they? And today's proposal that came out via email is silent on UIL activities as well as sports. So it is my responsibility as a parent and a taxpayer to ensure that the opportunities being offered at Richland High School will be the same or equal to those being offered at Prosper High School, and that our children are not being given performance and exhibition opportunities, but are given the opportunity to compete at the level that they have worked for so many years to achieve. So I hope that you take that into consideration when you make your vote, that if you offer or open Richland 9 through 12, that it is a complete opening, 100% dedicated to the excellence, both academically and curriculum-wise, that our children deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Beavers, can I speak to Star Trail?
Yes, ma'am.
I do
Please.
want to share so that there is at least some response to that, because I know that that is a question. One thing that we look at, and I know Dr. Bradley will speak to this when he talks about zoning, one thing we have to look at is where are active builds happening in the district. On the west side of the district, there are multiple active builds with future closings that are coming up. PHS zone, as we look at it right now, there are a few builds left in Light Farms. There's a few builds left in Creeks of Legacy. There's a few, but Star Trail is active. And they still have many futures to go. And so they're really now the only area in that PHS zone that would be actively adding students in potentially with new homes. The question on the west side of the district is how many more students will come on the west, because we have a lot of empty land. It's still pretty rural on the west side of the district, especially as you go back to the north side of the school district when you get into the Salina area. So those are things that we need to look at, because we want to make sure that those numbers are as balanced as they possibly can be when we're looking across all of the high schools that we offer, and trying to make sure that kids have an equal opportunity at different activities and things that are in the school. So I just wanted to answer that, and that's why Star Trail, because it is the active build community that's still moving pretty rapidly, but really the only one. So we're going to get in kind of more of what we refer to as a terminal zone as we're looking at that Prosper High School zone. We're several years out from that because of Star Trail and some of the other subdivisions still having some build in it, but we're going to get there, and then those numbers become very steady at Prosper High School because it's coming through the core of the district.
Thank you, Dr. Ferguson. We'll discuss zoning a little more here in just a moment. So, but first we have informational reports.
Yes, so our enrollment, you can see that we're at from last year to this point in time this year, an add of 4,043 students. We are projected right now with enrollments coming in with new and returning, looking at 30,514 kids. We fully expect by the start of the school year, with students who may withdraw, but also the students who are still moving here and registering, that we'll probably be hovering in about 31,000 on the first day of school, or very near it. And then a projection of about 32,000 by the time we get to the end of the school year, if not more, depending on what's going on with all the active builds in the homes. So. And construction updates. And we have a VLK update, just a reminder that they're working on our maintenance facility and our agricultural facility. So here are a few photos from some of the progress that they've made. By the time we get back from the district, probably after the 4th of July, when we get back into full swing again, we'll have an actual structure going vertical. So moving right along and on schedule. Okay, I'm going to ask Ms. Cease to please come up. She's going to present, just as a reminder for the board and for our community. Oh, this is our quarterly financial. Sorry, she's got another presentation here in just a little bit. Hello, Ms.
Good evening.
Cease.
So I am here to give you a finance update for the third quarter through March. At this point, we're 9 months in, and you know our fiscal year is August 31st, so we still have a little ways to go. We're waiting on final student numbers for template projections, so some of that's still happening. We always start with the portfolio, our investments. As you can see, on the left side is the prior year and the right side is the current year. Bond funds make up a majority of this at 59% or $387.5 million. Last time I presented to you, the bond sale was not in there, but it is in there and we've been spending it. So you can tell that's happening. General funds are right at about 28% or $184.9 million for a total portfolio of $652.5 million. Down in the right-hand corner, you see the interest rates. We're really pleased with those and happy that they're remaining steady and we're able to invest some accessible funds to help us out. And we're really happy that they're almost 1% more than they were last year, so that's a good thing. We're going to move on to the general fund. This is all of our 100 funds. This does include like the athletic fund that we break out and show you separately. The tax revenue you can see is just about there at 95% or $144 million, and this will continue to come in throughout the year. The state funding lags and will come in later in the year. This happens to us on a regular basis because of our payment schedule. We'll be bringing an amendment for 23-24 because we're anticipating that the homestead exemption, everyone figured that out. But the freeze related to the over 65, that was confusing to a lot, I'm told. I've had several meetings where they didn't really understand exactly what it was doing, and so the CADs didn't really understand, and so they had to get their systems all in order to be able to produce the accurate numbers. So I think we're there. Once this happened, that obviously our tax levy was reduced, and then you know that offsets your different buckets. So the total revenue is 80% or $245 million. We are funded on average daily attendance, and remember this is the 5th 6 weeks. The payroll cost is at 80% or $193 million for total expenditures of $77 million or $234.9 million. We have been picking up additional positions, but we're right about where we were last year, so we're feeling pretty good about this. There are some vacancies that could impact some of this, but in summary, with all the different moving parts that are happening at this time of the year, we feel good about this. We feel like there are multiple things happening with 3 months of expenses to go. A lot of the supply chain issues have gotten better, but not great. So it depends on when we receive the goods, when they get booked. We have the authority to move the budget with that item into the next year. We don't do that on everything, but that expenditure still has to happen in the appropriate year. If you got it September 1st, it has to go in next year. So with all this, we'll come back to you with an amendment to adjust anything that we see necessary functional-wise, and then more than likely the revenue piece. The next fund is the athletic fund. Like I said, we break that out. It's just a reminder of a visualization of the district athletic activities. It's mainly like gate receipts, it's officials, it's some of the summer camps. We just felt like that was a good way to present it. So the total revenue for that is 63%, or just about $1 million. And the expenditures are at 60%, or $741,000. At this point, we see a surplus of $330,000, and it looks like it's on track for what we're expecting to see. Many times, these percentages here can be a little bit skewed because of timing differences. The next fund is the food service fund. Total revenue is at 85% of the budget, or $11.5 million. One of the things that you might notice on that is there's a lot of federal money there. I think we discussed this a little bit last time. There's a supply chain assistance grant that we received, and we received a little bit more after that. So that's why that looks like that. And again, any of that we feel we need to adjust, we will bring back to adjust. The expenditures are, the total revenue there is the 11.5 million, and then the expenditures are 79%, and that's adjusted to the budget based on trends. So this one looks a little bit different, but we did adjust our budget last year, so that makes the difference from year to year.
Ms. Cease, on that federal revenue that you were just talking about for supply chain, I'm assuming that ends.
Yes, as far as we know. We received a letter not too long ago that we may be getting more, but I think it's just kind of sporadic.
It's okay.
So the surplus there is 973.8. We're pleased with this and the way it's performing. This fund needs to support itself, equipment, and we need to make sure that we're like pricing the meals the way they should be priced and that kind of thing. Since the driver is meal related, activity has slowed, of course, right now, but when school starts in August, it'll start up again. So we'll get a little bit more in this fund as we go. So next we have debt service. The total revenue for that is 97%. I skipped that line, but I wanted to point out that there is an additional state aid for hold harmless for the additional bonds past a certain point. Mr. Witt talked to you about some of that having to do with the homestead exemptions. So we've received about $4 million, and we expect to receive about $3 million more for 23-24. I don't know about 24-25 yet on that. So with that, I do show some of these other sources and uses just so you understand. If you see last year, we're going to have to book those. And so these other sources and uses have to do with our bond sales, and many times they almost net each other out, but they have to be there, and they do end up affecting fund balance, even if it's the net effect. We did have one earlier in the general fund, and that was one where we moved the 2.5 out to a property risk management, basically, fund that we did last year. I'm being told that that was a really good move on our part, because we are coming in at a lot less, like a 14-15% compared to some districts at 30% for property insurance. I don't know how long that'll last, and we're adding so many, and values are up and all that, but those are some of the numbers that we just don't really have a good grasp on yet. So the debt service payments, the expenditure amount that you see is the February payment, and you will see the August payment come next. We were able to ladder some of these investments for this fund because we knew we had a little bit of time before the August payment. And then we're just going to highlight some of the expenses on the active construction projects, starting with Elementary 18 or Jackson. It's making progress with cumulative expenses at $35 million, with only about 12% of the construction to go. So that one's going along. Elementary 19, cumulative expenses at 2.9 and 96% of the construction contract left to go. Elementary 20, they're kind of neck and neck. Cumulative expenses at 3.3 and 96.4% of the construction contract left to go on that one. We have Rogers renovations, and then we have Reynolds renovations. What we've done on both of these is we have the POG contract, or we have the POG budgeted amount, but these are like in different phases. And so right now we're just showing phase 1. So the way they did it is they put the budget up there, but then the pie chart shows the phase 1 piece. Middle school number 4, or Jones, is starting to wrap up. The cumulative expenses are 99.5, with about 10% of the construction contract cost to go. Middle school 6, Mosley, construction contract is approximately 61% complete, with cumulative total of $70.6 million. And last but not least is high school number 4, Richland, scheduled for August of 26. Construction contract is 37% complete, with a cumulative total of $118.9 million.
August of 25, right?
Ooh, I'm sorry, August of 25.
Yeah, don't want to get anybody upset.
Sorry. Thanks for
Make
catching
sure we get that
Thanks for
corrected.
catching So this concludes our finance update for the third quarter. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Cease.
Want me to stay?
Yes, Ms. Cease, because next is preliminary budget. So just for the community, anyone watching, this is our first glance. We are a September 1 budget in Prosper ISD. And so what our financial group does, which they do an excellent job, is they do forecasting with our school board, with our community. So what you're going to see is the first glance for the 24-25 budget. And then next month, Ms. Cease will come back. She and her team will work again, refine things as we're getting more values and different totals in, and then we'll have another glance, and then August will be the final glance, because we'll actually have our values coming in, which just FYI for everybody, that is the last Monday in August when we have that board meeting because of waiting for the taxable values. All right, Ms. Cease, take it away.
Okay, so this is our preliminary 24-25 budget. I just want to take a minute. This budget work is so collaborative. We have the finance committee that we work with. We work with Dr. Ferguson and Dr. Penn and executive leadership. We have campuses and departments, and it's been great. It's been very, very, like I said, collaborative. It's nice to see things coming along. We have had to pivot a lot this year. We have a lot of different moving parts. Like I said, we are not even in our business portable. We are here in this building, kind of literally pivoting around desks, but we're making it work. And somehow Prosper always makes it look easy. So I love that about this place. But there's nothing easy about school funding. So I know we'll band together for the students and staff of Prosper ISD, and like Dr. Ferguson always says, call the legislature. So before we get through this, we'll probably say that a couple of times. With that, I'll get started with the preliminary look. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to do a quick refresher on school funding. We're going to take a first look at the tax rate, the revenue projections, the expenditure projections, the fund balance impact, and next steps. So the next couple of slides are the visuals that we always show about the buckets. It works. It's kind of helps people understand this a little bit better. It just explains how we're funded. But anytime the misconception comes up where if we have really high taxes, then we just have all this money, and that's not the case at all. We are formula funded, which means we're funded on kids in attendance. The basic allotment, by the way, is still the 6160, hasn't been changed since 2019. So again, call the legislature. And the programs that they are in, and these programs are all weighted by different, by the different programs they're in, they have different weights. And so they're not all at the 6160. So we watch that, monitor that.
Can you just back that up, just for the community? So what Ms. Cease is talking about, the basic allotment, the money that we receive per student in Prosper ISD from the state is $6,160. That amount has not been changed since 2019, even with inflation. So the way that the board is showing up, our staff is showing up, our parents are showing up through boosters and different funding mechanisms. That's why we're able to do what we're able to do for our students to give them a next level experience. So I just don't want that to be lost, because that's a significant difference on what we provide to a student in this district and then what the state is providing us with $6,160 per student, which I don't think anybody in this district would want their kid only educated with $6,160 for a school year.
True. And I was just at a meeting at Region 10, and they were talking 22% inflation. So it's definitely needed. If we accumulate more than the funding formula allows, then we have to send it back. If we accumulate just a portion of it, then the state will come in and fill the rest of the bucket. So that's basically how this slide works. I was looking at a different visual a while back, and I was like, I didn't really think about it that way, but we really, as taxpayers, the majority of the taxpayers, we're paying taxes and we're paying state revenue. So we're paying like the sales tax and gas tax and all that. So we're putting into both buckets. So I thought that was kind of interesting. The next slide is just the balancing act. It's just a different visual to show the same thing. As the local share goes up, the state share decreases. And then we have one more set of buckets. These buckets just kind of explain the general operating and the debt service funds. Sometimes people get confused and they're like, why can't you use your bond funds or your debt service funds for other things? But the M&O is basically like, for schools, it's supplies. For a citizen, it would be groceries. For INS, it would be new construction, and for an average citizen, it would be your mortgage. So that's kind of an easy way to explain that, and they cannot be commingled. So this is our tax rate. So the current year is in the middle, the kind of navy color, and the 24-25 is the estimated tax rate. We have not been given the MCR from TEA yet. We will be given that. So this is basically, we're plugging the numbers that we have into our template, and this is what's coming out. So it's going down, but not going down by much at all. The years on the left were just basically, it was $1.67 or $1.67 for many, many years, and then they started the tax rate compression. So it's just giving you a history of that. And like I said, if our tax rates go down, then we're going to get offset with state funding. The 100,000 homestead exemption has been handled, as I mentioned before, but the 65 freeze numbers, they have been a challenge. And so that's why we're kind of in a little bit of limbo with some of the numbers with the state funding people and the appraisal districts.
Ms. Cease, when do we typically get the MCR rate?
In August.
In August, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing to note is just even if our taxes go down minimally, our values are still going up. So that's always something to remember. Our goals and priorities this year, recruitment and retention were right up there at the top. Compensation, the board approved the 3.5% salary increase for all staff. That was to honor the staff we have and to try to keep getting the best of the best. The $60,000 starting salary for first teachers was awesome. We did increase benefit contributions when we found out TRS medical premiums were going up. And then this is where we can all help, and we have been helping. We are refining budgets to optimize resources, promote cost-saving strategies, and enhance sustainability for the district. The revenue highlights and assumptions, we're anticipating a growth of 2,500 students. It's built on that. Obviously, with what Dr. Ferguson just said, we're probably going to have to come back with another amendment, but we need to be very conservative, and we need to wait until October timeframe or so to do that. The fast growth allotment is not guaranteed, and from what we're hearing, some of our neighbors are losing it that used to get it every year. We're right behind Katy ISD as far as fast growth. For 24-25, we're getting 32.3 million at this point in time. The non-prorated amount, we would have gotten 41 million. And so we're getting about 4 million more than we did last year on that.
Maybe something to note for a legislative priority,
Yes,
to get the full amount.
yes. Apparently they talked a little bit about that last
They
time.
always talk about it, we just need it to happen.
The higher interest rates are giving us a lot of hope for being able to invest and capture some of the higher rates. So right now we're looking at the revenue totals these are our current projections. The left side is the 23-24 original budget that you adopted. The middle column is the preliminary budget. So we're going from 296 to 343, but remember that part of that difference is like that amendment that we came in with in October of last year. So that's part of it. So we are increasing by 46.9 million. Most of the local revenue is miscellaneous revenue is investment. The local taxes and the state revenue work inversely, you know that. The federal revenue, the reduction of the 200,000, that has to do with, we had ESSER and we were able to ask for an indirect cost rate for ESSER at a higher level than other normal grants. So we had a huge amount for ESSER, so that went away. There's some things with SHARS that are difficult right now. And then I think the majority of that is basically the ESSER indirect costs going away. But this is not our grants. I always want to reiterate, this is not our grants. This is money that they allow us to put in the general fund to kind of pay us back for things that we're already doing. So the highlights of the new expenses are the personnel. So we have an additional 584 positions since 23-24 budget adoption. So since you adopted that through the year, and then the ones we're expecting right now are 584 positions, which is mind-boggling. So it's approximately $50 million with the new employees. The staff raises are in there. The benefit contribution increases in there. The average cost of a new employee is $77,000, but there are multiple associated costs that go with that we have to make sure we keep up with. And then a lot of collaboration with HR and payroll to refine staffing ratios and utilize the Skyward staff planning model. That's really helping us with as big as we're getting and as fast as we're growing to be able to have some numbers that we can really rely on. So the highlights of the non-personnel, inflation, we just talked about that. Like I said, I'm hearing 22%, and growth due to opening 2 new campuses, and this is just 2, not what we're looking at in the future. The programs that go along with those, custodial contracts, utilities, and landscaping contracts are going up. The big ones are the property insurance. We still, like I said, we don't have a good grasp on that yet, but we're trying to be smart and use some risk management strategies on some of that. The portables, of course, we're having to add the portables. And then the appraisal districts and the tax offices, they charge us based on their budget and our percentage of value. So those have gone up in the last couple of years pretty significantly. So the next one is the general fund budget increases. This has to do with the expenditures. Reviewing the expenditure budget, you'll notice an overall increase of $57.4 million. And on the previous slide, you saw the approximately $50 million for the increase in payroll. So you see that in this middle column. We are going from the original of 306 to 363, which is a significant increase. You will notice that the payroll budget is at 82%, which is where we like it to be. That just means the majority of our funds are going to payroll. The next slide is a fund balance impact. It basically takes the revenue that we're thinking and the expense and takes the net. 23-24 is really hard to anticipate right now at this time of year with everything moving. We still have a lot of things going on. We have audit end of year entries, just a lot of things. But right now, we didn't want to bring this to you with you thinking we're going to have a huge deficit. We feel like we're going to add about 10 million plus. But for the preliminary budget for 24-25, we're looking at a $20 million deficit, which is kind of hard to swallow. If our budget grows 40 million annually, and our fund balance would ideally grow 10 to 20 million to maintain that relationship. It's not looking like that's going to happen in the future unless the state does something. But we're bringing you the best we have. We also always want to reiterate that this is the worst case scenario. If everything was filled, every position, that's no vacant positions, every dollar was spent, and we don't typically do that. We've projected a budget deficit for the last few years and have consistently come in higher on the revenue and lower on the expenditure side. So we're trending that way, and we're getting some good analysis and data to like back some of this up. But we do have to be very cautious of a $20 million deficit. We feel like this is one of the most conservative and responsible methods. We do have some built-in safeguards on the expense side to work with to keep the deficit manageable. By planning for this, we're like I said, assuming a worst case scenario. And there's not a lot we can do out in the future from what we're seeing and templates that we're working with until something happens. I don't anticipate us continuing to add every year if nothing changes.
And you mean something happening at the state level?
State level.
Yes.
The local level has done everything that they can,
Yes.
our board, to really give back, to make sure that we're able to recruit and retain a highly qualified staff for our students, and them pushing the pay to the level that it needed to be was a heroic move.
Definitely heroic. But I mean, the state has to help us out.
$33 billion left on the table. I'm just going to say it one more time.
That's right. That's the number that we've talked about this year that was left, that going into another session this next year, we need help on stuff because we are over 80% is spent on our teachers. We know that teachers are the best way to give our kids an outstanding educational experience, which is what people are here for in Prosper. That's what's driving all the growth that we're talking about on the west side tonight. It's people want to be in Prosper ISD. We see that time and time again, and this is where we are asking the state for help on this because $20 million deficit is not an easy thing to swallow, to your point, year after year. So, hey, if y'all know anybody at the state, give them a call, right? We will be doing that also, but this is where, hey, we need people to get out and vote as well this next year so that it helps us when they look at Prosper ISD, so that you know what Prosper ISD holds weight when we talk to our elected officials on up the line.
And from my experience at other districts, if you pull your kid out of Prosper ISD and go to another district, you're probably, or you know, a charter school or whatever, you're probably going to be bringing them back in 2 to 3 years, and then they're going to be behind, and so then they are fighting that, and then we're fighting that, and so it's sad that they haven't listened more than they have. But I saw a Raise Your Hand Texas presentation the other day, and he made me hopeful, so we'll see.
Quick question, Dr. Ferguson, around here, other districts, superintendents that you visit with, is anybody passing a balanced budget this year for the most part?
No, sir, they're not. 20 million is actually the lowest that I've seen, so we're on the very low end. Some of our neighbors are reaching into 45 million, 130 million, because we're all in a race to try to get the best teachers, and the best way to get the best teachers is to get the best dollar amount out there. Teachers are experiencing inflation just like everybody else is, and you know, they're making choices to leave the field of education because they can go make more money, and that's a sad thing, because it's sad, especially when we see some of our absolute best, most talented educators leave. They're not going to another district, they're going into industry where they can make more money. And I understand that, but it's a sad situation when we have a surplus of money and that nothing is being done with that. And really, to the amount of money with the basic allotment, for years it's always been, you know, access this, do this, and more hoops to jump through. It just needs to be an adjustment on the basic allotment. If we're going to put $10,000 out on the street for a voucher or an educational savings account, whatever term you want to use to cover the voucher piece of it, then that means $10,000 is given to kids in public education as well. Just make it fair and equal across the board. I don't think we're sitting there trying to fight that. We know that that is where our state legislator is headed. We know that that's what our governor is wanting. But that means then $10,000 needs to come to every kid that's sitting in Texas public schools, because at the end of the day, the Texas economy runs because of Texas public schools, because there's 5.5 million kids who stay in this state to go and get a job. They go to a university, they come back, and they give back to the Texas economy, because Texas is an amazing state and they want to come home. But our state really needs to recognize the economic engine that our public schools create.
Well said.
So the next steps are, we're monitoring enrollment numbers overall and those special programs. We're monitoring staff vacancies, refining payroll budget with new hires. We're refining budget requests and renewal requests. So like I said, we're waiting on some of these pretty big numbers. The July board meeting, will present it at that functional level, and that's where you actually approve, you will approve it at the functional level. So we'll show you that, and then we will show you the debt service and the food service projections for next year. July 25th, they will give us our certified values from the CADs, the appraisal districts. As of today, they still had like 30% outstanding on the protests, and they could have as much as 10 on the 25th. So that could still change after that. We are looking at the projections on tax collections in July, and in August, TEA does give us the MCR rate. Budget and tax rate adoption will happen. And then we always have to keep looking at 25, 26 because of all this, opening 4 schools then with all the expenses that go with that, and monitor the 89th biennium legislation session for changes. And then we also need to start looking at 26, 27 because there's 4 buildings there too. So
The growth does not slow down.
I want to thank Ms. Cease and her team, Dr. Penn. They've worked countless hours to get us to this point. Again, first look, we'll have another look next month, and then in August be bringing you what we'll be asking for adoption.
yes, I can't say enough about my group. They have done, my group, HR, Mr. McLaughlin's group. It's been one of the best budget processes I've gone through from anywhere. Everybody's just so willing to help and work and make Prosper what Prosper is. So I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Thank you.
Cease.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to consent agenda this evening. As always, thank you, Mr. Dial, helping out with the minutes. We've got the other parts of consent agenda. It's been reviewed here. With that, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. Move the board approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Linker. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? That is all 6 of us this evening. None opposed. That passes. That takes us to action items. Dr. Bradley.
Good evening. Let's talk about Richland High School for a minute, and want to first start off and just to give our usual caveats about zoning. It's not the most fun thing to do, and so I want to extend my appreciation to you guys for showing up a couple weeks ago and listening to the community. And thank you to the community for providing feedback. As Ms. Trotter sent out today, over 1,500 responses. And I had somebody earlier today say, well, did you, I guess you're trying to make changes because you got complaints. I said, no, this is exactly what we want. This is the feedback that we desire. We put something out and say, tell us what you think, because while we have ideas about what we could do, our job is to represent this community, and I know your job is that as well. And so we appreciate the feedback that we got, and we appreciate people advocating for their students. One of the things that I wanted to mention is maybe I didn't a couple weeks ago. One of the conversations that always comes up in this is efficiency. And you open a new building, and how many people do you put in there, and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to remind you, one of the things that we know in school finance is some things we just heard. The most efficient thing to do is to shove 6,000 kids into Prosper High School. That's the most efficient thing to do. The most efficient way to run a building from an expense standpoint is add as many portables as you can and put as many kids in there, because you got one principal and one football team but that has a personal cost. And this district recognizes that, and you and your vision with the 2023 bond said, we don't want kids to go to high school with 6,000 other kids. What we'd like them to do is have opportunities, and so that's why we build new buildings. But with that always comes, how many do you put in there? And I just want to say right off the bat before we dive into the numbers, this is something we've done at every high school. Way back when Prosper High School opened, that large building was not completely built out, and there was only 900 kids in the first year. So if we're not going to use all the building, we do shut part of the building down. We're not going to pay to heat and cool and use rooms that we don't need at that point. So if we put 1,200 kids in Richland, we won't use everything in there. We've done that we did that at Prosper High School, we did it at Rock Hill, and we did it at Walnut Grove this year with 1,700 kids. We did not use the entire building because it didn't require it in year one, but we'll roll into it. And so efficiency is always something that we're looking at, no matter how many students are there and how we utilize the facilities that this community has provided for us, and that we try to steward well. And so this earlier today, I know an email went out with collecting some of that feedback, and is ultimately our recommendation to you tonight for you to consider based on the feedback that we received from the community, both at the meeting, both opportunities online where people were able to present their opinions to us. And the district is proposing that Richland High School open with grades 9 through 12 with a senior choice. And so to be clear about that, it would be the zone that is zoned to Richland High School, which is up here on the map. If you are 9 through 11th grade and 25-26, you would go to Richland High School. And then if you're in the Richland zone and you're a 12th grader, you would have the opportunity to choose. Do you want to remain at Prosper High School, or do you want to go to Richland High School? And we have done that. Was exactly what we did at Walnut Grove High School a year ago, and gave students a choice. We will inevitably get some questions. What about juniors? We did that at Rock Hill High School. I want to be clear about that. In 2020, when we opened Rock Hill, we gave juniors an opportunity to choose. And as I mentioned at the meeting a couple of weeks ago, we learned from that. It's very difficult to ask a 14 or 15-year-old to make a decision that's going to impact them 3 years from now. So remember, this school is not even going to open for another year. And then you're having kids make a choice that's going to affect them their junior year and then their senior year, which right now is 3 years away. And so we learned through that process that asking sophomores in the fall of their sophomore year to pick is difficult for everyone. And so the recommendation from the administration would be that 9 through 11 would go to the zone school, and that 12th graders would have an option. And then the second big thing there was the district proposes that families in the Creeks of Legacy community have a choice to remain at Prosper High School or attend Richland. That's why you see the little multicolored area there, the shaded area, Creeks of Legacy. You know that the initial map that we released had Creeks of Legacy go to Richland. We gathered a lot of feedback from Creeks of Legacy, a big desire for them to stay at Prosper High School. They're closer to Prosper High School. They come out, they turn left onto Frontier, and they're right there. There was a couple of things that went into that. Again, as I think Dr. Ferguson mentioned this earlier, Creeks of Legacy is essentially built out. The neighborhood does not have much room to grow. Phase 1, 2, and 3 are complete. And so there's about 212 high school students that would be there in 2 years. And so that's a pretty solid number that is not going to change a lot. And so we believe that we can keep that group at Prosper High School. But as is always the case, there are some in there that said, hey, I was actually looking forward to go to Richland High School. And if they want to drive themselves there or find a way to get there, we're willing to work with them in this coming year. And so that's the proposal. A couple of other items about that. This change will still allow Prosper High School to have a projected enrollment of fewer than 3,000 students. So we heard a lot about that. Prosper High School this coming year is going to have 3,700 students. It's going to be packed. I will remind the community once again that before Rock Hill opened, we had 4,120 students in Prosper High School. We've been there before. It's not ideal, it's not where we want to be, but we've navigated that before. And so there's going to be about 3,700 students, but by pulling Richland 9 through 11 out and then giving seniors choice, we believe that we will have a Prosper High School under 3,000 for a couple of years. And then the other thing that I want to mention about this, we have not yet released, because we needed this direction to understand what's going on with the high schools, because next year, in the same year that we open Richland High School, we're going to be opening Mosley Middle School, which is on the north side of Windsong. Right now, Rushing Middle School and Reynolds are way over capacity. Both of them are substantially over capacity. We're going to open Mosley Middle School, excited about opening Middle School 6 in the same time that we open Richland High School. And then 1 year later, we are going to open Middle School 7 and 8. And Middle School 7 is going in Legacy Gardens. And so what we're trying to do with understanding what the community desires and what you adopt as a high school will allow us to line those middle schools up as best we can. So my sincere hope is that I'm standing here in 2026 talking about we have 4 high schools and we have 8 middle schools, and each 2 middle schools feed a high school. And we finally get to that feeder pattern that has long been desired in this community, but has been impossible to achieve because of the growth that we're having. And so we're moving towards that. And so adopting this zone will help us as we create the zones for Mosley Middle School and for Middle School 7 and Middle School 8 in the years to come. The other thing about this is, again, referencing something that Dr. Ferguson mentioned earlier about Star Trail. One of the things that we're trying to do is get to a terminal zone. So as long as I've been here, we've been able in the last couple of years to get some elementaries to their terminal zone, which is really fun to say, hey, you know what, barring some crazy thing we can't control, you're always going to go to Hughes Elementary, or you're always going to be able to go to Folsom Elementary, because we've been able to get to those terminal zones. It's what we're trying to get to with all of our high schools. I would remind you that Prosper High School lost students to Rock Hill, lost students to Walnut Grove, and is now going to lose students to Richland High School. Luckily, this zoning does not impact Walnut Grove, and it does not impact Rock Hill. What we would like is that Prosper High School get to a point where it has the amount of kids that it has where we don't have to come back and rezone it, right? That people could begin to feel comfortable that if you live in these lines, you would always attend Prosper High School. Now, it's impossible to guarantee in this community as the fastest growing school district in the state of Texas, but it's a pretty good attempt. And while we could move a lot more people, we could have come in and said, everybody west of the tollway goes to Richland High School. But if we had done that, within 2 or 3 years, I would be right here standing in front of you saying, I know we moved all those people over to Richland, but now Richland has 3,500 kids, so I'm going to need to come back and yank them back to Prosper High School. And in 7 years of doing this, the one thing I've learned that people are most passionate about is getting yo-yoed back and forth. We can kind of deal with rezoning, but the thing we don't want to do is attend a school, get yanked out of that school, and then 2 years later told, you get to go back to that school, right? Because then you've disrupted a lot of the flow. And so that's what we're trying to solve in this. Again, it's an imperfect system. There's a ton of variables. Most of the feedback we get, our people understand that there's 2 or 3 variables affecting their kids. You have the unenviable position of trying to figure out 2 or 3 variables for 4,000 kids, right? Which is always hard to do. But I believe that this is that this zoning that we're recommending tonight honors the feedback that we received from the community and a plan that I think will help move us forward. And so this is these are the numbers that go with this map. This shows that if we were to open 9 through 11 with Richland High School, we estimate that there would be 1,256 students there. Again, getting Prosper High School just below 3,000, but you see the next year, right, as we roll up, Prosper High School actually gets smaller again, and then Richland begins to grow, and that's because they didn't have, they lost more seniors than they would gain freshmen. And so the one thing I can assure you about these numbers is that they are wrong. Right, so please, if you take a picture of this and you call me back in a year and be like, you lied, I'm gonna say, you're right. I mean, there's no way I can tell you exactly 1,256 kids are gonna be at Richland High School. But I can tell you this, that 1,256 number assumes 0 seniors are choosing Richland High School. So that's just a 9 through 11 number. So it is likely going to be larger than this. And the other thing I can tell you is that since Winsong Elementary opened in 2016, every school that we've had west of the tollway has overperformed projections. Okay, so we have had schools in the district that the demographer missed and said, hey, I think they're gonna have 700 kids, and they had 680. Since 2016, every school that we've had west of the tollway has overperformed the demographer's projection because Winsong and Artesia and Sutton Fields and Mosaic and so Parks of Legacy, they're really good at building houses really, really quickly. And so the density over there has continued to increase. And so I would suggest that if any number on this map is low, it's the Richland High School number. And that's why I think it's very likely that when we're looking 4 years out, if I were to guess anything, that PHS number is too high and that Richland number is too low. And because that's just what we've seen over time. And so that is the recommendation from the administration. There are still many questions to answer. I want to be clear, this school is not opening for another year. So we have a lot of questions to answer in this, but what we're asking for tonight is based on this recommendation, an adoption of a zoning that will allow us to go back and really work on those middle school zones to make them make sense, and also create some rules for transfer processes and so forth that would make sense and serve our students well.
Dr. Bradley, can I ask a question? The 1256 number and the 2990, that also assumes all the Creeks families stay at PHS, right? So for every Creeks family that would choose Richland,
yes, sir.
That number would also go down to PHS.
We had no way of estimating, yes, so you're correct.
I'll call for a motion here in just a moment, but before that, Dr. Bradley, thank you for the work that's gone into this. I know that it's not easy. As you said, you are the one that has been looking at the numbers every which way, and you've brought us to this point, which what we've heard so far from people this afternoon are very pleased with this, because we know in zoning there are a lot of wrong answers, but it seems like very few right answers. And so thank you very much for getting us to a point and presenting us with these numbers tonight. We do have a report that's just come to us now. We can get into discussion, and we should here in just a moment, but as of right now, is there a motion to be made?
Yeah, I move that the board approve the attendance boundaries and grade configuration for Richland High School as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we will enter into a discussion part of this. Thank you for the question, Mr. Linker. Again, also the point that you made about the senior numbers, we have no way of knowing that yet. If that trends like it did with, I'm saying Walnut Grove, I think we were what, 160, 170, something like that seniors. So could possibly even be, more on this side. What other questions do y'all have for Dr. Bradley here?
I have another question. Can you talk a little bit about why with Walnut Grove, and then why with this, the seniors are the one given the option? I mean, I think it has to do with the numbers at PHS that would be way too high if we gave multiple grade level options, but can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned earlier, in Rock Hill, we learned, remember PHS was massively, we were at 4,100 kids, it was too many, and it was the first time the district had opened a high school. And we were new at this and said, hey, I think we want to make an attempt to give as many kids an option as possible. And so the board chose to give, the incoming 11th graders a choice too. And we had a conversation about, do we let freshmen choose? And we had a lot of conversation about that. And then ultimately settled on 11th and 12th graders. One of the things that maybe I failed to mention earlier is this. There are a lot of rules that govern high school when it comes to UIL and organizations outside of just what the board has purview over. And one of those is eligibility. There are also board policies regarding class rank. And so one of the things that we're asking students to do and requiring of them basically is when you choose to go to a high school, you stay. What we cannot get in the habit of is saying, hey, as a ninth grader, I want to go to Richland and I go there for a year. And you know what? Most of my friends ended up staying at Prosper High School. So I think I'm going to go back to Prosper High School. There are a lot of reasons we can't do that. Again, with eligibility under UIL, affecting class rank, just basically affecting staffing and so forth. And what we found in Rock Hill and Walnut Grove, in almost every situation, was that juniors are far enough into their high school career, they know what they want to do, they know what their goals are, their parents are kind of set on, this is the direction we think our kid is going. And so this choice makes sense because they can look with the end in mind and say, this is something I want to do. I want to go be a senior that starts over here. What we found particularly in Rock Hill was we had a bunch of students who said, you know what, I want to go to Rock Hill. And within 3 weeks of having the choice made, we were getting emails and saying, you know what, I mean, we made that decision, but turns out so-and-so staying and I don't want to do that. We had every kind of situation you could imagine, from parents lost their job, now I don't have transportation anymore because you're not providing transportation over there. And it led to a bunch of these issues with eligibility, class rank, what do we do now, how do we get them there? And so we learned our lesson in that. And I think, there are always people that say, hey, I'm willing to drive my kid today, but it's impossible to know what the future holds 2 and 3 years from now. And so I think giving seniors a choice makes sense. I think if you extend it beyond that, you are asking for some unforeseen troubles. That, at least that was our experience pretty clearly with Rock Hill.
Yeah, and what we found is the kids were the ones who lost, right? They got into these UIL situations. And so adults had made decisions, whether it was parents, staff, whatever it might be, but the kids were the ones who ended up losing. And we saw some kids that, on the athletic side specifically, that should have been on a court or on a field, and they should have played, but because of the choices of adults, it made that eligibility invalid. And so they couldn't play. And so that was a really sad thing to see. So we did learn a lot of tough things through that, but that was probably the most heartbreaking, is that kids were the ones that kind of caught the brunt of it.
Yeah, a few thoughts. I'll appreciate you, Dr. Bradley, your team, Ms. Trotter, for all the communication. I think it's important to talk about the process and how this process has improved over the last several years. And it's not a perfect process, to repeat what you said, Dr. Bradley. But we have to start somewhere, right? And I think, over the last few weeks where we kind of put out the first draft and then we took that feedback from the community, and then another recommendation's made, we're doing the best with what we've got, right? And as you said, we're doing our best to make the best decision for the 4,000 kids that could be impacted by this. So I think, if I was to say something to the community, is just, whether you agree with it or not, like, make sure you get out and make your voice heard, right? Advocate for your kid, your family, so that we as a board and administration can hear all those opinions, not just the ones that may be upset with it, so that we hear all of that. So I think that's just, as we continue to hone this process and make it better, I think that's an important note to throw out to the community. But appreciate all the thought, appreciate the recommendation by hearing those people, our people in our community, what's best for their kids, and bringing forward this new recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, echoing that point, that we've done better this time. I remember the neighborhood east of Preston that was zoned back to PHS last time when we did this exercise 2 years ago. And now we have, with Creeks of Legacy, have improved on that and how we do it and given a choice there. So thank you very much for, hey, bringing the idea up. And, to the rest of the board, thank y'all for listening as we're about to see here in just a second if we vote to approve this. With that being said, any other discussion, questions, comments, anything?
I have one more comment
Yes, sir.
and just a clarification. Dr. Bradley, I want to also thank you for the time you took to initially put the proposal together, and then after feedback was received to, like Jordan was saying, try to find the best option for most. It's impossible to make everybody happy, and it's zoning, just in my couple years on the board, has been one of the most challenging parts. So thank you for the time. I just want to clarify what you had said on Star Trail and the yo-yo kind of rezoning. In the event that Star Trail was at Richland, there'd be a very real chance they'd have to move back because all that area north of Harvin, which is empty, is going to be flooded with houses. And there's at least 500 8th to 11th graders in Star Trail starting this fall.
Yes.
And so 500 at Richland plus all the houses that would be north of Harvin would be very likely to move back.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you were referencing?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? That is all 6 of us, none opposed. So that passes for the new zone for Richland High School. Go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Dr. Croy? Get to work. Okay, that'll bring us to 9B, consideration and possible action regarding a land lease agreement for the cell tower behind Rock Hill Transportation Building.
I just mentioned 2 things to you. One, this is, number one, this has not gone through Frisco's P&Z yet, so there's still a long process. So even if you approve this tonight, it's not like tomorrow there's going to be dirt turning out there. There's still a long process to work through. The second thing is, as you saw in your documentation, this is located on the far south side of our property, adjacent to the transportation facility. So I think it's the best location for this. It's far away from students. It's on the south side of our property on land we can't use for anything else. It's too narrow to do anything else. And so I think it's a wise use of an opportunity there to achieve a little bit of funding for the school district. We negotiated this rate. This is the highest rate I'm aware of anyone paying for a lease on a facility. So I'm proud of that. We negotiated to
Good
get
job.
what we got. So I recommend it to you.
Okay, first of all, as somebody who uses their cell phone in Prosper, thank you for bringing this here tonight. I think that everybody else would agree with that. Okay, is there a motion on 9B?
Yeah, I've got the motion. I move that the board approve, I move that the board approve the land lease agreement for the cell tower behind Rock Hill Transportation Building as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Linker. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cavender. Any discussion or comment other than thank you again?
And this will make sure that no calls get dropped anymore, Prosper, right? Just
Just
kidding. Just kidding. Got jokes.
Dr. Bradley, quickly move back. Okay, anything else by anybody? Okay, all in favor? That is all 6 of us. Passes, none opposed. That takes us to 9C, consideration and possible action regarding the 2024-2025 Food Service Management Company contract. Okay, anything to present by this, or we're just going straight into it?
The 2 vendors that put in for this, and Aramark won the contract. So that's why we're recommending that. It's currently who we're with right now is Aramark Food Service, and so that's the recommendation we are bringing forward.
Perfect, thank you. Is there a motion on 9C?
I move that the board award the 24-25 Food Service Management Company contract to Aramark as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Cavender. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Linker. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor? That is all 6 of us. None opposed. That takes us to 9D, consideration and possible action regarding an increase to the district contribution for TRS employee health benefits for the 2024-2025 school year.
Yeah, so we were very obviously pleased with the 3.5% raise that you all did. But our compensation analyst did an outstanding job of really bringing forward to Dr. Penn and myself and to Ms. Hunt with her team in human resources. Because what you don't want is you give your staff a raise and then you find out that the insurance benefits have gone up and so they didn't actually fill the raise. And so went through a pretty lengthy audit analysis to figure out what would we need to do with compensation, but also with the benefit. Did we need to make adjustments or bring recommendations to you as the board? And so it was found that we would need to go from a $351 for insurance benefits up to $375 for the benefit of our employees. Now, I will say employees that have a plan for their family or employee plus spouse, it may look a little bit different because just as a reminder as the board and what we were looking at is how do we take care of the employee that we've hired and try to help offset that expense as best we could. And so that's what this recommendation is to help with that cost that we're all feeling in all areas of our life. And obviously with our health insurance here at Prosper ISD, we're feeling that as well.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ferguson, for that and for bringing to the board and senior staff as well. We absolutely do care about our teachers. And when I say teachers, I use that as, employees in general. Hey, y'all are what makes Prosper ISD go from that standpoint, and we want to take care of y'all. So thank you for bringing this to our attention. 9D, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I move that the board approve an increase of the district contribution for TRS employee health benefits for the 2024-2025 school year as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Any discussion or further comments on this?
This could be another thing that the state of Texas helps us with.
I
just want to add that in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna make that comment that while they're sitting on their huge surplus, where you're consistently are stepping up to try to figure out ways to keep our awesome teachers and to continue to compete with our other districts. And so thank you for thinking about that, and I know the board all feels the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The $33 billion surplus, because I don't think that we can not say that number enough so that everybody realizes that one. And I look to the camera when I say that, $33 billion surplus. Okay, thank you, Mr. Linker. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? That is all 6 of us, and none opposed. Motion passes. That takes us to the superintendent report.
No non-agenda.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Non-agenda. We do not have anybody for non-agenda this evening.
No. Okay, so superintendent report, graduation, the Super Bowl of Education and Prosper ISD took place at the end of May. We had 3 beautiful graduations with a few little adjustments because obviously we were at our stadium, which is a fabulous setting. Really want to thank the board too for giving their time to be involved in each of those graduations and giving kids handshakes and hugs and really honoring the work that they've done over the last 13 years for their education. So just truly, as I said in my speech to them, they are our dream come true. And I will say that our staff, our parents, our community, our board, it really is how the dream comes true. And when you see these 13 years come to life and see these young adults getting ready to take their next step, there's just nothing better. And so we're very proud of each and every one of these graduates, over 1,500 students that we graduated from Prosper ISD, to send them out into the world and to be our legacy, as I know that they will make us Prosper proud. And then leadership retreat. So as soon as we finished graduation, the leaders, we all headed out to start working even more in-depthly on the 24-25 school year. And this is really where we start doing a lot of our dreaming big with our innovative learning, which is my first goal in my superintendent goal set. And so really, how do we set the tone, the expectation for what we're wanting to see through each of these leaders, and then permeate that through each of our staff members, our parents, our campuses, our departments, and then ultimately how we make that ultimate change for each and every one of the students that we will serve in Prosper ISD. I will say that we have the most exceptional leaders in this district, and they are just top-notch all the way through in the way that they handle themselves, the way that they dream big for our kids and really embrace the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of this community for the children in the community and how are we going to make that happen. And so I'm very honored to be able to serve alongside them and really be able to just watch the magic that even in these moments you see happening as they're talking about what they want for our kids. And then their strong commitment and dedication to making sure that that vision is seen all the way through until we get to that goal I just went through, graduation. What does that look like? As we're working from pre-K on to make it happen. So great time, great fellowship, really being able to come together. And in the middle, I always call that our family reunion picture because it looks like we're on a family reunion because we have matching t-shirts. So great time and great leadership, but we'll see more of that coming up with their campus plans on a page and department plan on a page so that we have direction and clarity in exactly where we're going with our student learning and expectations. And then the Prosper Promise, this was born out of a vision in 2021 by the Prosper ISD School Board. We've gone through several different kind of iterations, but I think probably within this next year, probably one of our biggest overhaul that I've shared with the board members. But I love what we've done with this. It's not really anything so different than what other districts are doing, but what we've done is we've branded it. And it's something that people can connect to, that they can understand that this is a way to get involved. I love hearing each one of you as you're working with the community or visiting with them, and I usually hear you say, well, have you thought about maybe the Prosper Promise, getting involved in one of our advisory committees or going to an informational setting? So you can see our data and statistics, kind of how everything fell out over the entire year and being able to really see how many touch points were we able to get in this district with the multiple people that we're serving. And what I love about the Prosper Promise is it's not just for a parent in the district, it's for a community member in the district, it's for a senior citizen who is in the community through our Silver Stars opportunities. So we really try to cast a very large net, and I would say from birth to senior citizen, we're trying to get everybody involved and really understanding exactly what Prosper ISD has to provide and really give back. And so we look forward to seeing many more opportunities moving forward with a little bit of a redesign where we're bringing some fresh ideas that hopefully will engage our community once again at a very high level to really showcase the excellence every day in every way that Prosper ISD provides.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Ferguson. That'll now take us to closed session. We will enter into closed session according to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Sections 071, 072, 074, and 076. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Are back. It is, what do we got here, 9:55, 56, something like that. Okay, back from closed session. That brings us to 13A, consideration and possible action regarding hiring contract personnel. Is there a motion?
Sure thing. I move the board approve the hiring of contract personnel as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? That is all 6 of us. The motion passes. And yeah, that is everything that we have for tonight. So at I'm sorry, I said that wrong a second ago. 9:53, we are done. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.